good morning, everyone. Welcome to Pure Adrenaline Fantasy Sports. I'm John. I'm back with Sean this morning. Sean, how you doing this morning?
Pretty good. How are you?
Good, good. Ready for the season to kick off. Ready for fantasy football. How you ready for the Vikings today?
I am.
Yeah. What are you thinking?
Disappointing season again.
Yeah. Well, guess what? I'm a Jets fan, so it's been a disappointing couple decades. So,
Well, you have Super Bowls. I have 0.
well, not since I've been a fan. So, I'm at 0, bud.
And it's still one for the team.
All right. To start off this Sunday, we have 9 games at 1, 4 games at 4 o'clock or 4:25, and then the Sunday night game, and of course the Monday night game tomorrow night. During the 1 o'clock games, what games are you looking forward to?
Definitely Steelers Bills
Hmm.
playoff team from last year, starting off the season with two pretty high powered offenses, I would say. And then it's going to be interesting to see if Pittsburgh can hang out and stay with the Buffalo offense and how fast their defense is.
Yeah. Yep. I'm looking forward to actually with the 1 o'clock games. Besides my Jets, I'm actually looking forward to Arizona, Tennessee.
Yeah, that one will be a good one too. It'll be interesting to see if Kyler Murray can play well against a pretty decent defense. I mean, he seems like he has those very inconsistent games. So I think his time to shine is time now. I mean, it's what year 3 for him, so he's got to start proving himself to his offense and everything that he's their future quarterback and wants to play good.
Absolutely. During the 4 o'clock games, we have Cleveland, Kansas City, Miami, New England, Green Bay, New Orleans, and Denver Giants. Any of those games you're really interested in?
New Orleans and Green Bay. It's interesting to see how the Green Bay offense plays with Rodgers, knowing that he wanted to leave this offseason and was really contemplating just retiring instead of returning.
Mhm.
And how's Jameis Winston play since he's now officially a starter again?
Right. Actually, no, not to change the subject, I actually have the tweets going for injury updates, and Ian Rappaport just tweeted that the Bills make running back Zach Moss inactive, and he's not injured,
Must
but
be
he's
COVID related,
but he's
probably.
yeah, but he's inactive. So I didn't read the rest of the tweet, but I.
Probably good for anyone that has Devin Singletary now in their fantasy. They
Mm,
can
ab-
definitely play him because he's going to be getting all those touches.
yeah, absolutely. And then tonight, uh, and the first Sunday with the Bears Rams, both playoff teams from last year's, I believe, correct?
Yep, yeah, and probably two of the I would say top 6 defenses in the league. I mean, Aaron Donald's obviously the beast himself. I mean, the guy's built differently, and Khalil Mack. I mean, he's arguably probably one of the best. I would say defensive line and linebackers that can probably say right now in the game. Because I mean, he plays against us twice a year, and I hate every game of it.
Yeah. The let's start looking into some of these games. At 1 o'clock, we got Pittsburgh and Buffalo. Let me share the stats on the screen here for my projections. Oops. Share screen. Share. Should go any second now. There we go. I'm not sure if you can see those, bud.
Yeah, I see him.
Yeah, you just never know with Ben Roethlisberger. He's getting older. I have him at the 27th ranked running quarterback this week, which wouldn't be worth starting.
No, not unless you have a 20-man league. I wouldn't start him. Even if you have a 12-man league, I wouldn't unless you did not draft a quarterback in the first 8 rounds of your draft. He's definitely not a guaranteed starter anymore in this league, in any league probably anymore. He's just your typical probably bench guy and flex starter on a bye week if you need one if injuries.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that. And stay on the Steelers side, I got Najee Harris as a 10th ranked running back for week 1.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's only got, I think, Benny Snell on the Steelers as a running back. And, I mean, Harris, they said in Pittsburgh he'll be a 3-down back like Le'Veon Bell was years ago. And, I mean, you'll get a lot of probably receptions out of him out of the backfield, especially if they're under pressure a lot with the Bills' defensive line. So I would say guaranteed start Najee Harris, no doubt, if you don't have him as a RB2 probably or a flex.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, if anybody watched the stream on Thursday, I had it broken down on how many people you should be starting to make the when you look at the rankings. So in a 12 team, if you're in a 12 team league, anywhere between the 24th and 36th ranked player at the running back or wide receiver position should be in your starting lineup. So looking at that, I got Deontay Johnson and Juju Smith-Schuster both in the top 36.
Yeah, I see both of them having a really good game. I could even see Claypool having a good game for them as well. They have so many options as those three receivers to get the ball. So, and you have Ebron, and then you have their rookie tight end that they just drafted, who's also going to get touches. And you figure Najee Harris. So you figure you got 7 mouths to feed. It's just, if you're in a PPR league, I wouldn't say you're going to get a lot of receptions out of them. But if you're definitely in just a yardage one, you're definitely going to get a pretty good chunk of yardage out of any of the three of them.
Yeah, and I actually have Chase Claypool just on the outside of that at 39th. So,
Yeah.
like you said, they're going to be spreading the ball around. There's so many options there.
Yeah, I mean, Roethlisberger, you're still going to get probably 300 yards out of him a game. So you'll have your probably 60 to 80 yards of players per like yardage a game average probably. You might get those few 100-yarder games, but I would probably say you're more or less going to get 60 to 80, probably a good chance at a touchdown in the red zone.
Absolutely. And for tight ends, I don't have Ebron. I have him as their highest rated tight end, but not worth a fantasy start.
Not unless you need one because of injuries. I wouldn't start him, no doubt. He's not like he was when he was in Detroit with Matt Stafford. So I wouldn't say he's worth starting.
Yeah. Adam Schefter just tweeted out that 49ers running back Trey Sermon is also inactive today.
If you got Raheem Mostert, definitely start him.
Absolutely. And continuing with the Pittsburgh and Buffalo here, I wouldn't start either Boswell or the Steelers defense against Buffalo.
No, not unless you only drafted the Steelers defense. I wouldn't start them. I mean, Buffalo's offense is going to probably put up 24 to 28 points, I would say. So I would definitely. So the Steelers probably also are really high on going for 2-point conversions. The chance of you getting extra points are probably like 30 to 40%, I would say. You have a higher chance of a 2-point conversion coming off that team.
Yeah. And to switch over to Buffalo here, I have Josh Allen as the number 5 ranked quarterback this week. That number 5, that's a must start. No questions. Doesn't matter who he's playing.
No doubt. He's so mobile as a quarterback. He definitely last year being proven that he was their future quarterback up in Buffalo. So I would say, no doubt, he's top 5 probably every week for the rest of the year, if not higher. I mean, he's going to get you good rushing yards, probably 50-some yards a rush, I would say, a game almost, if he can take off, especially with Moss out. And you have his throwing ability with Stephon Diggs and all their wide receiver threats up there that are fast. You'll get probably 350, 400 yards almost.
Yeah. Now, this will change. I did not update this since the news came out about Zach Moss, but I had Devin Singletary as the 40th ranked running back. Now, that will change now because Moss being out, Singletary's numbers will absolutely go up. So he might be on that back end of maybe putting him in as a flex or.
Yeah, I mean, if you have him on your bench and you need a flex because of inactives or you're not sure about how they're going to play, I would say you probably could start him. But with the Steelers defense, it's also you're not going to probably get 50 to 100 yards rushing out of him. You're probably going to get, I would say, under 50, but you might get that red zone touchdown run up the middle maybe.
Right. The Bills wide receivers definitely start Diggs, and that's probably the only receiver worth starting on their team.
Yeah, no doubt. Diggs is probably the one and only guy I would want to start on their team. I wouldn't trust anyone else until proven otherwise. Unless they have an injury, no one else is going to probably get the ball thrown to them over 5 times.
Yeah, I'm looking at the rest of the tight ends. Not worth having a tight end from Buffalo. Definitely their kicker, Tyler Bass, definitely a top 10 kicker. So make sure he's in your lineups today. Buffalo Bills defense, they're going up against Pittsburgh, so that's a tough matchup for them. So they're right on that kind of bubble on whether you should, unless you have no other defense, probably stick them in.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say you could get a pretty good game out of their defense, but you could also get a really bad game out of their defense. So it's hard to say with that one, especially against a Pittsburgh offense. We're not really sure how they're going to work.
Absolutely. Let's go to the next game I had here. I have all the late games going here. Which game should we jump into next? What are you thinking?
I would probably say the Packers Saints. I would say that one's pretty good.
Packers Saints. Yeah. Definitely Aaron Rodgers, top 10. Don't question it. Unless some reason you have him in a dynasty league and somehow you have Mahomes as your starter because you drafted him in a rookie draft or something and you have both. But yeah, definitely playing Rodgers this week.
Yeah, Rodgers, no doubtingly, is top 5 quarterback for this weekend especially against the Saints defense that isn't very good. It's very inconsistent.
Aaron Jones, top 10 running back this week as well.
No doubt. He's going to get his field of touches, and he'll also get his field of receptions out of the backfield.
Of course, going through the list here, Devontae Adams, really the only receiver worth starting unless you don't know how to draft wide receivers.
Yeah, Devontae Adams, you're going to probably get 12, 15 catches out of him probably. It's him and Rodgers definitely are the go-to matchup. If you have both of them in a fantasy lineup, you're probably going to go pretty deep this year in your run for the playoffs probably, unless you didn't draft anyone else. But you got, arguably, if you have those two, your team is pretty stacked.
Yeah, I have Tunyon ranked as his 12th tight end. What are you thinking there?
It's hard to say. I wouldn't start him unless you need to. He's very inconsistent, and with Rodgers, it's hard to say how he'll play. I mean, if Adams is getting like double teamed and he's not trusting Lazard or Valdez-Scantling, I would definitely say go to him, and you would want to start him. But it's hard to say. I would probably wait until next week to see about starting him. I wouldn't trust him right now with week 1 and not knowing what the offense is going to play like.
Yeah, absolutely. And they have starting Crosby at kicker if you got him. Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
And Green Bay's defense, I like this matchup, but I still have them ranked as the 11th defense in week 1.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're going to get probably a good 3 to 4 sacks. You might get a few interceptions with Jameis Winston at quarterback. So I would definitely start the Green Bay Packers defense if you have them actually this weekend.
Yeah, to go over to the Saints, I have Winston at 23. I don't know what he's going to do there, and with Thomas not being available, that's going to hurt their offense.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's hard to say with Winston. because with Taysom Hill behind him, they're going to use Taysom Hill also on their offense. They've already said that because he's the Swiss Army knife of players. He plays defense, special teams, offense, anywhere, punts he does. So I would definitely say I would keep Winston on your bench. I wouldn't start him unless he proves that he's the starter and that Taysom Hill is going to be used otherwise elsewhere. I wouldn't want to have him.
That brings us to the running backs. Alvin Kamara is the only one worth starting. Unfortunately, I'm in one fantasy league, and I believe the guy that I'm playing against this week has him. So are you starting him?
Alvin Kamara is definitely one of the top running backs in the league, no doubt. I mean, he's just got that quick speed and everything else. So if you have him in a lineup, you'll probably end up winning.
Yeah. Callaway is the only receiver I have that's on the bubble. So unless you have a weak running wide receiver group, stay away from any of the Saints wide receivers today.
Yeah, I really like Callaway. Like his preseason ability with Winston at throwing the ball to him, he's got the speed to burn people, and he's also got the good hands to catch the ball. So I mean, if you have that option and you have a flex and you have an open flex, I would use him there possibly if he's available. Because, I mean, a lot of leagues he's not even being drafted or thought about. So I would say if you have him and you can put him in, I would think about putting him in just because he's going to probably get a pretty good amount of touches out of that offense.
Yeah, and looking at their tight ends, they don't have a tight end worth putting in your starting fantasy lineup.
No, not at all. And even I think their kickers, I think even injured. He's on the IR, I believe, with an injury. I wouldn't trust their backup.
Yeah, and like I said, I do like the Green Bay match for their defense this week. So I don't think the Saints are going to score much. So I would not start Rosas or the Saints defense.
Yeah, the Saints defense, you're going to probably get put in. They're probably going to get put in a lot of rough positions. I mean, because if their offense turns the ball over, they're going to be right up against the edge of scoring range probably most of the time. And with the Saints offense, they might even be going for it on 4th and 1s a lot today. I could see, or 4th and 2s even. So I would say it's very hard to want to start their Saints defense there.
Yeah, let's look into the running backs a little bit here. My top 10 for the week are McCaffrey, Cook, Kamara, Henry, Gibson, Jones, Mixon, Robinson, Chubb, and Harris. Is there anybody in my top 10 that you're like, no?
I would definitely say Mixon and the Bengals. Their offensive line's not very good. And, I mean, going against the Vikings, their defense isn't great, but it's hard to say how he'll play. I mean, I think last year, I think he only had like 2 or 3 games over like 100 yards. And with Burrow being very iffy and they have that like weak offensive line there that he gets sacked a lot, I wouldn't trust him. But, I mean, if I had to put anyone in the top 10, I would definitely put Saquon Barkley over him.
Yeah, Barkley. Hey, how'd that happen? Hey, listen. Speaking of Saquon Barkley, I know you went to an event Friday night. Let me put it up on the screen here. What was this all about?
He had his local high school jersey retired up here, and I was able to get tickets to go and sat there at the 50-yard line where he was enshrined and got his number retired, and his jersey was given to him by his brother, who actually wore it after he left the high school and wore it in the last game, and ever since then they have not worn his number 21 in any of his high school games there with his team. And then he actually said, a fan actually asked him on Friday night at the game, they yelled over to him and said, "Are you playing on Sunday?" And he kind of did the half smile, smirk, and shrugged his shoulders and goes, "There's a good possibility." And I heard this morning that he was activated and
Active. Yep.
ready to go.
Yep. Yeah, I heard that this morning too. So that's cool. Let's jump in. Let me get this off the screen. Let's jump into the wide receivers. I have Adams, Hill, Hopkins, Ridley, Diggs, Metcalf, Jefferson, McLaurin, AJ Brown, and Tyler Lockett as the top 10. But in your fantasy league, you're going to start anywhere between 20 to 30 some odd receivers, depending on flex. Who are some that might not be in this top 10 that you're like, yeah, get this guy into your lineup?
It's hard to say. I mean, you got so many people that could be pretty good receivers today. It's hard to say in nowadays in the league where you have so many players. The only one I would question being in the top 10 would be is Lockett. But I mean, if Metcalf gets double teamed, I would say Lockett's going to be the go-to for Russell Wilson. But Lockett also is very inconsistent as a receiver with Metcalf there now. So I mean, he could have a 250-yard game, or he could have a 50-yard game and only get like 2 catches. But other than that, I mean, I would say, like I said earlier, I would say McCole Hardman. I would watch out for him, or not McCole Hardman, the Callaway, and then even McCole Hardman on the Chiefs. He was on my radar to be a good threat because they're going to be guarding Tyreek Hill and Kelsey a lot today, and I think McCole Hardman could have a really good day against the Cleveland Browns defense.
Absolutely. Let's look at the quarterbacks. Any other quarterbacks worth starting besides my top 12 here? I have Justin Herbert on the outside of that list, but he's my starting quarterback.
If I had to start anyone outside the top 12 besides Herbert, you just mentioned Kirk Cousins. He's the Vikings. I mean, offensive line isn't great. So, and Dalvin Cook, he uses it as a receiver more as a running and then like a running back. And we're typically trailing 50% of games. So I would say you're probably going to get a good decent amount of passing yards out of Kirk Cousins. And with Herbert, he's playing against a Washington defense that is the Washington defense. They're in the NFC East. They're not that great.
Yeah. Tight ends on the outside of must starts. I have Tyler Higbee and Jared Cook for the Chargers. Are guys that could start, but I don't have them rated that high.
Yeah, it's the tight end position is very iffy once he gets outside of the people called Kelsey and Kittle. I would say between those two and T.J. Hawkinson in Detroit, it's hard to say who I would want to start because a lot of teams have 2 tight ends that they use, like New England, Atlanta, I know, and there's a couple of other teams that use like 2 tight end plays on their offense. So a lot of tight ends could get the ball back and forth. So you might get one good game, but you also get one bad game. So I would say if you don't have like a top-notch top 5 tight end, I wouldn't probably start them.
Absolutely. To jump over to the defenses here, the team I like that most weeks probably won't be a start is actually the Jacksonville Jaguars going up against the Houston Texans this week.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty sad to say. I would start the Jaguars defense right now when you're playing against the Houston Texans. I would start anyone that's playing in the Houston Texans. So if you have to pick somebody up any week, they're available. Definitely going against the Houston Texans is the team I'd want to get because you're probably not going to get good games out of that offensive line or offense in general because they got so many people there that are past their prime in games and definitely not going to put up big numbers.
Right. And To end today's Sunday, the first Sunday of the season, but to end the first day, we got the Bears and Rams. I have the stats up on the screen here. Is there anybody in this game that you're looking at that you're like, yep, no doubt, got him, put him in the lineup?
Definitely Robert Woods on the Rams. He is a go-to for receptions, but it's hard to say with the new offense that they have built there with Stafford and I believe it was James White that got traded. Was it James White that got traded from the Patriots?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So with that,
Oh no,
and
excuse me, Sony Michel got traded.
and
Yeah.
not having Cam Akers, who is their dual running back last year, their number one rookie. I would say on the Rams, I would go with Robert Woods, definite starter. On their defense, on the Bears, I would definitely say I would not want to put up David Montgomery because that Rams defensive line will stop him probably most of the game. Definitely for start though, Allen Robinson. He's going to get the ball. He's the number one right there. But if you're looking for a sleeper, Darnell Mooney on the Bears, I would definitely say if you got a guy that starts later and you're not sure if he's going to be good and you have Darnell Mooney available and either pick up or to get in your lineup off your bench, I would probably put him in if you're trailing because you'll probably get pretty good numbers out of him because Robinson will be up against Jalen Ramsey, so you'll have the number two or number three against Mooney.
Yeah, absolutely. I have for me, it's Cooper Kupp for the Rams. Definitely start him. Like you said, Allen Robinson. For me, Tyler Higbee as well. I think he's going to have a great year. And then either the Rams defense or Gay need to be the kicker. Need to be in your starting fantasy lineups in week 1.
Yeah, even the Bears defense, I wouldn't say not starting them wouldn't be a bad option because they know Matt Stafford so well.
True.
They've played against him for many years. And Matt Stafford is one of those non-mobile quarterbacks, so he is going to fall down to the ground if you have a blitzer coming at him off the edge. And you might get, your occasional, they're trailing, throwing interceptions or a fumble.
Yeah. What do you think? Who wins the game? Who wins the Sunday night game?
Definitely the Rams. Their defense is going to overpower Andy Dalton. I was shocked to see when Andy Dalton was guaranteed a starting position up there, but they did pay him a decent amount. But I think Andy Dalton will be probably replaced midway through the year and or midway through some games, even if they're trailing for Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields is going to be a pretty good quarterback in his future if he stays healthy. I wouldn't guarantee him being, winning a Super Bowl in 2 years like Patrick Mahomes or even like Tom Brady's kind of future. But I would say if he plays good for his career, I could see him winning a Super Bowl or two possibly.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. Can you see? I have the projections for the quarterbacks up on the screen. Can you see them?
Yeah.
I have Mahomes as the number 1 quarterback this week. Does that happen? If not, who could be the number 1 quarterback?
Lamar Jackson, I could see being number 1 with their running backs very questionable and not trusting them. And he's only got one main wide receiver he's played a game with, I believe, on his team. I wouldn't trust many. I would say Lamar's probably going to rush for over 100 yards tomorrow and probably pass for over 250. I would say he's probably going to get a rushing touchdown and probably a passing touchdown. He's not one to fumble the ball a lot and or throw many interceptions because he doesn't pass the ball a lot. So you're going to get good statistics out of him over a year. I mean, he's already got an MVP. So if I would say anyone, I would say Lamar.
And they're playing in Vegas, right?
Yeah, they're playing Vegas. It's opening night, I believe, in Vegas with fans and be able to be attending.
Nice. I'll just jump over to running backs here. I have Christian McCaffrey as the number one running back this week. I don't know if that's going to happen. I know the Jets are going to put a lot of emphasis on shutting him down and trying to force Darnold to beat them. I actually like, out of the running backs, I actually like Dalvin Cook the best this week.
I would probably say, if anyone, I would say Alvin Kamara, just because he's going to get a lot of dumps, quick routes with Jameis Winston out of the backfield. He'll be able to rush a lot. You'll probably get a good 20, 25 rushing attempts out of him and probably a good 10 pass attempts to him. So I would probably say Alvin Kamara probably would jump up to number one, and then probably Dalvin Cook stays at number two.
Jumping over to wide receivers, I have Devontae Adams as the number one ranked wide receiver with 20.9, but Tyreek Hill at 20.5. So they're right there, 1A, 1B. Anybody besides those two that could jump up to one of those spots?
I might actually shock you with this one. This is a really deep sleeper for me. I actually have drafted him in a couple, I think two of my fantasy league teams that I have. AJ Brown, he's gonna get fed the ball a lot up there, or down there in Tennessee, and against an Arizona defense that's, besides their defensive line, is not top notch. So I would say AJ Brown, because Julio isn't Julio in his prime anymore, and AJ Brown being 24 years old, he's got the speed and the size and the strength ability to go up and get the balls. So I would definitely say AJ Brown is probably possibly a top three this weekend. I would say. I think he's going to have a big day against Arizona defense.
Absolutely. Jumping over to tight ends, I actually have Kelsey a little bit above everyone else, even though Kittle, Waller, Andrews, and Pitts, and Thomas, those guys are all must starts. But Kelsey with the matchup this week against Cleveland is definitely going to be the number one tight end. Or am I wrong?
Yeah, and the only person I can see going up against Kelsey all season for, I would say every week, and at the end of the year, would be Darren Waller for the yards. Derek Carr loves Darren Waller, and I mean, he is a pretty good tight end, I would say. I mean, he's just on the wrong team, I think. He deserves to win a lot, and I mean, I think if he doesn't get a big payday in Las Vegas, he'll go somewhere and get a top two payday. He'll probably never get paid more than Travis Kelce will in Kansas City for how much he does. But I think Darren Waller is definitely the top guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Justin, going in, I have Suck Up already played, so I have for today's games I have Tucker, or actually they're playing Monday night anyway. So I have Koo from Atlanta going against Philadelphia as the number one kicker.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, Koo showed last year that he's a pretty good kicker. I mean, I think he made almost a 60-yarder last year, or I think he might have even actually. So I would say Koo. Only other person I could see starting would be Bass in Buffalo, being a top guy. They do, if they don't score, he does get kicks a lot. But other than that, a kicker, you could have any kicker on any team show up one week and get you 4 or 5 field goals. But I mean, if you have Tucker, you have Bass, you have Koo, you're definitely gonna get a probably good fantasy week out of them.
Jumping over to the defenses, I actually have the Broncos as the number one rated defense this week, going up against the Giants.
I wouldn't say that's wrong, but I would also keep my eye on, like we said earlier, the Jacksonville Jaguars. They could have a big field day out there down in Texas with the Houston Texans. I mean, they could get a good, decent amount of points for you. If anyone, I would say other than them, I would say the Rams are going to have a good day with Andy Dalton tonight at getting a lot of points for your fantasy team.
Absolutely. Before we end this stream, how many fantasy leagues are you in?
I am in 4.
And what's your favorite matchup in week 1?
I got to play against you week 1.
Hey, bud, it's a
Yeah.
that's the only league I do is our dynasty league there, and our matchup week 1 is a rematch of the championship game from last year where you beat me by half a point.
Yeah, it was definitely a nail biter last year coming down. It went down to the last game, the last minute, sitting there trying to hang on for dear life. But all I got to say is let's run it back.
Yeah, let's do it. The Vikings kick off today against Cincinnati. Not only today, but what are you feeling for the whole season?
I think that we could compete for a wild card. The division's not going to happen unless Aaron Rodgers, by some weird chance, gets injured or just has enough with Green Bay and they trade him. Because there's a couple. I heard that Denver still really wants him, and they've been trying even since preseason began, and obviously the regular season today, that they're still very in on getting him to their team. But I think unless they start having really bad games and they're losing, I don't think he'll ever leave Green Bay this year. So I would say we win maybe 8 to 9 games, but it's hard to say. I mean, our defense is very inconsistent, and we could put up 28 points like we were last year every game and still lose all the games we were putting up the points. You gotta have your defense help you out once in a while.
Yeah, what's going to take some since I've been a fan in the '80s, they played 16 games a year, so it's going to take a little getting used to doing, looking at team records and trying to remember it's now 17 games. So as a Jet fan, yeah, I mean we went 2-14 last year. We completely got rid of the coaching staff, got rid of Sam Darnold, got Zach Wilson in. And Robert Saleh, the defensive coordinator from San Francisco, is now our head coach. I honestly think we can win 6-7 games, and if we get lucky, a game or two, maybe 8 or 9. I don't think we have any shot at the playoffs, but you never know. That's why they play the games.
Yeah, the AFC is definitely the strong side of football. They have a lot of teams that can compete for a Super Bowl, but I would definitely say the Jets, I see them winning at least 5 to 7 games this year. I think they're going to have a lot to prove now with their new team. And I think this year will be a learning curve for Zach Wilson. And I think you'll see progression over the next year or two, and you'll see them become a possible playoff team. I mean, they play in a division that has always been hard to win for many years, so it's definitely going to be different this time around with all new teams in that division with new players.
Oh, we got a comment here from Bars in the Tuck. Let me go. Why is my mouse not working? There we go. Let me see. I'll put that up on the screen. Good morning and happy football. 2 quarterback lead. Hurts locked in. Do I go Burrow with Higgins? Higgins stack. So that tells me he's playing Higgins as one of his wide receivers, or Wentz rushing upside. Thanks. Now let's go back over to our quarterbacks here.
If I had to choose anyone, I would definitely.
Let me get that off the screen.
I would say Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I agree. Wentz. I remember when Wentz first got injured. Weren't they saying he was going to be out like a few weeks of the regular season?
Yeah, they said up to 8 weeks of the regular season, and
So
I believe he's starting today. So they might have him be like in for 50% of the snaps for the first few like drives even, and wanting to hand off more or less to the 3 running backs they have up in Indianapolis. Plus, with T.Y. Hilton injured, I wouldn't say and trust any of their wide receivers other than Pittman. But I would trust Joe Burrow more against Minnesota's defense.
Oh, he's got another question here. Thanks for the questions. Also, who's better long shot, Djax, AJ Green, or Lazard? Thanks. Bars in the tuck. Thanks for the question again. This is just preference to me. I remember when he was in college. I absolutely love Alan Lazard.
Yeah,
I know he's not a number one receiver, but before they put the tender on him this offseason, I was actually hoping they would let him go and the Jets would sign him.
Yeah, Alan Lazard you got a high upside of him getting a touchdown in Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers throws the ball a lot, so I would say Alan Lazard definitely. If you have him and you have an option to put him in your lineup, I would say him over those other two. Deshaun Jackson with the Rams offense, you might get a few rush attempts, you might get a few pass attempts, and same with AJ Green being in Arizona. DeAndre Hopkins runs Arizona's team, so it's hard to say him not getting the ball that much.
Let me get that let me get that off the screen. I've been working on something. I don't have a way to I have a way to share the projections so that people can go down and click on the link and they can look at all the weekly projections. I don't have a way to share this yet. When I share it, it doesn't give you the drop down options for the players. But let's put this to the test here. Oop, this is loading. So let's go in. Let's put Lazard. Jackson. And who was the other? Oh, AJ Green.
AJ Green.
So actually, oh, there it goes. So according to my projections, even though I have AJ Green with the most points, it's saying to start Deshaun Jackson overall. But I would still go with Lazard going up against the Saints.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I saw he just had another question in there, John.
Oh, let's see here. Mostly, would you trade? Oh, let me put it on the screen. Sorry, Sean, it blocks. Actually, let me take that off and put us on the screen. Lastly, would you trade CEH, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Damian Harris, and Ayuk for CMC, Michael Thomas, and Jalen Reagor? I want CMC to pair with Zeke. Thanks. Subbed. Well, first off, the Bars in the Tuck. Thanks for the questions. Thanks for the sub. Just to let you know, we're doing shows every Thursday at 7 o'clock before the Thursday night games, and then Sundays at 11. We start at 11:30. We'll go as long as people are watching and asking questions. We'll go up until I'll go up until kickoff. I don't know about Sean, but I'll definitely be live streaming until then. I honestly, I would make that trade. I actually, even though week one, I think the Jets are going to try to shut them down. I absolutely love CMC as a fantasy option, and I would trade, which I did with you in our dynasty league. I traded a boatload to get him.
Yeah, if you can get CMC any day of the week, I would get him, especially Michael Thomas when he is healthy. Jalen Reagor, he's got something to prove, but if you're not giving up too much to get a injured Thomas for 6 weeks and a questionable Reagor, you're getting CMC in the deal. So I would definitely take that trade all day, every day, because Damian Harris hasn't proven he's a starting running back up in New England, but he's pretty good at it. And Clyde Edwards-Helaire he's on the Chiefs, so you'll get whoever you're trading with him will get a lot of points out of him throughout the year. And Ayuk, he is in a San Francisco wide receiver core that's young and still proving themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we sign off here, Sean, any last words of wisdom, fantasy wise, you have?
I would just say to anyone, don't overthink your fantasy lineup. Don't second guess yourself. If you have a feeling that someone could have a breakout game, I would say just do it and go with it and start them and hope that they do. And don't go by projections because projections will
Hey,
definitely prove to
wait a
hurt yourself.
wait a minute. That's what we're doing here. We're doing projections.
Yeah, but don't don't guess on your lineup being overall projection and
Oh,
hoping
got you.
that you
No, I
up
understood.
your overall projection and hoping you win a matchup. Definitely keep an eye on your 1 o'clock games to your 4 o'clock games and even your Sunday night and Monday night games. I'm one to always check it out and make sure. I would keep an eye on it. And if someone's starting to have a bad game and you're trailing and there's someone that you can put in that has upside for a good game, definitely put that in because your risk, if you're having bad games, you could have even a worse game, but your reward could be going from losing to someone having a really breakout game and you win your matchup, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we're gonna log off now. Like I said, we'll be back every Thursday at 7 o'clock, and then Sundays at 11:30. You can follow us on Twitter at PA Fantasy Sports. You can ask us any questions over there throughout the day or anytime, and I'll answer them. And I send out a link Sundays, Thursdays and Sundays before I go live. If you want to post a question there or just come in the chat, let us know. And we'll see you Thursday night.
All right. See you
See
guys
you.
Thursday.